Welcome to this session of two very common procedures: chest tube drainage and tracheostomy. Both are very common, very frequently performed operations, and both carry a significant morbidity and poor outcomes if not properly performed. So today I will go in depth. I will tell you everything what the literature says about them. I would also share with you my experience on dealing such cases and the problems which I have faced and the complications I have seen. So friends, we will discuss chest tube and the drainage bottles first. So the session is divided. We will discuss chest tube, then we will go to our iPad to discuss the various chest tube drainages. As the chest tube finishes, then we switch to anatomy of the front of the neck as relevant to tracheostomy, and then I'm glad, Ankita, you are here. And then we will discuss tracheostomy in detail. The younger friends should carry a pen with you so that anything what you don't know, you must write it down, because this is going to be a very consolidated session, not only for your exam, but for your everyday exam, that is your practice in life. So starting with chest tube insertion or closed thoracostomy. This is the commonest thoracic procedure. Let me start by saying that Dr. Eggleston, who was my mentor, used to see, he has seen more complications out of chest tube than from pneumonectomy or lobectomy. Why? Because the lobectomy is done by a trained thoracic surgeon. Chest tube every Tom Dick tries to put in, and that is where, because of poor training, and more so because chest tube is below the syllabus of CTVS surgeons, and at times it is beyond the scope of a formally trained general surgeons. That is why the complications happen. So dear friends, I will start quickly. Number one, with the indications. The tube is inserted. Number one, to drain air, blood, chyle, pus. Number next, it is used to instill drugs for pleurodesis, and it is put prophylactically without a pneumothorax in a patient who is undergoing ventilation for surgery or post-op ventilation to prevent an incidence of tension pneumothorax under relaxant. So these are the indications. Now coming to the technique. When we are going to put a chest tube, first we should have some consideration in our mind. What is the hemodynamic stability of our patient? What is the reason why we are putting in a tube? When you try to put a tube for air, the tube is directed upwards. When it is for fluid, it is in the paracostal or posterior lung recess, or at the toward the base of the lung. Or if it is a localized collection, then you go sonologically or by CT, wherever it is a localized collection, you put in that direction. Does this patient have any previous surgery done on the chest? A previous chest tube put in? a previous pleuro test is done. Having known these things will make a lot of difference in decision making for the tube. Okay, then history of drug intake. I repetitively tell you friends, always take a sample history. You will be always wiser, smarter than your colleagues. If you know beforehand this patient is on dual antiplatelet drugs or anticoagulants, then the second point comes, can you postpone, can you delay the chest tube insertion for some reasons? If you can, you must. And if you cannot, you should be prepared with FFPs and the platelet concentrates. What is the status of lungs on both sides? Remember, the commonest mistakes have occurred in a emphysematous chest. When I say emphysematous, there are 4 signs of emphysema. Number 1, can Muni write down the signs of emphysema while I proceed further on chest X-ray? So whether the diaphragm is high or low or tented, so your tube has to be marked above the level of diaphragm, so that if you know beforehand where is the diaphragm. Since Muni is not typing, I will speak out the features of chest X-ray COPD. Number 1, low flat diaphragms. Number 2, long tubular hearts. Number 3, hyperlucent lung fields. Number 4, horizontalization of ribs. So when the heart is long tubular, the diaphragms are low flat, the right and left side can be confused. Then at times you can have patients with situs inversus. Good evening, Ravi. So in those cases, when there is a situs inversus, then also you can be mistaken to put a tube on the wrong side. The X-ray put up may be of a wrong patient with a similar name. So next, when you are planning to do a closed thoracotomy, think in your mind that you are going to do open thoracotomy. Why? Because the asepsis precaution required for a chest tube insertion are as much as closed thoracotomy or open thoracotomy. Now, the part should be as prepped and scrubbed by chlorhexidine, mechanical wash, then chlorhexidine painting, large area to be painted from opposite nipple to the posterior axillary line, from apex of the axilla to iliac crest. All area should be painted and widely draped. Now, why this much area to be draped? Because we are going to do the proper marking for our patient. What are we going to mark? We are going to mark the iliac crest, anterior superior iliac spine below, nipple medially, angle of scapula laterally, and the 12th rib. You draw a line from 4th intercostal space, which is denominated by nipple impression in males, then draw a curvilinear line joining the 12th rib. That is what can be the diaphragm. And look at the chest X-ray. Look at what is the level of diaphragm on chest X-ray. So if it is on 5th, 6th, it can go till 4th, but usually it is at 6th or maybe at 7th, wherever it may be. You calculate in every given patient. We are going to put a chest tube in 5th, 4th or 6th rib intercostal space, whichever is convenient. The point is selected slightly anterior to the mid-axillary line, because we don't want the patient when lies supine, the tube to be troubling him. And friends, we are going to give ample amount of local anesthesia. Before we start local anesthesia, now the time has come to do the timeout. Timeout is meant for the examiner to know that you are meticulous. Also, timeout for the actual procedure. What you need is, patient should have a running drip, number one. Number two, he should have preferably oxygenated. Number three, should have a pulse oximeter. There should be somebody to monitor the patient on a head end. Some IV analgesia should be given half an hour prior if possible, and if not, then you can give at least 10-15 minutes before, so that it has a peak effect. Now we raise a local anesthesia wheel from skin into all muscles. Periosteum and pleura should also be infiltrated. It is worthwhile giving an intercostal block of one rib above and one rib below if you are good at it. The patient will become more cooperative. The post-operative pain management should be part of our pre-operative plan. Welcome, Dr. Maheshwari. We are discussing today chest tube insertion. It will be followed by tracheostomy. So, then when we do timeout, we check all the equipment lying in a straight line, all the instruments. It is good to have a protocol where you beforehand have a list of all the items, and it is preferred that a additional suture and a chest tube, one number above and one number below what you want, should also be handy. Enough local should be available. This should not be a previously used vial with only 5 cc left and then somebody runs. You should have one person to monitor the patient, one scrubbed person to give you the instruments, and one person available on the floor. This is the minimum team if you want to do a good procedure. Now there are two methods to insert chest tube. One is trocar method, the second is dissection method or open method. I am going to tell you the open method. We will then later discuss trocar method also. The open method is with the at least 2.5 centimeter incision. The size of the incision should be such that the clamp and your finger both should be able to enter the wound. Even if it is 3 centimeter, it does not matter. The principle is you dissect with the blunt hemostat and make a hole of the size of the tube into the pleura, and then the chest tube is held with already then another clamp like this, a curved long clamp with another clamp at the back, so that as soon as you make a hole, you put your finger in the hole, feel inside for any adhesions, any loculi, and then with the tube held in a second hemostat, curved hemostat, you guide it over in the direction upwards if you are dealing air, or toward the base or posterior gutter if you are expecting fluid. The patient would be 45° up. He will have a rolled pillow under his iliac crest and shoulder, so that he is also around 30 to 40° like this, so that you have access in that area. All the marking which I have said should be visible: nipple, iliac crest, spine of scapula, 12th rib, so that you cannot go wrong anywhere. Now, once the tube is in, as soon as your tube is in, your assistant will connect the drainage system. We will talk later about the drainage system. And you look at, as soon as the system is opened up by removing the clamp, you look at the movement of column the amount of air, blood, pus, whatever was your indications of putting the drainage. Then the column should be moving. Then ask the patient to cough. The coughing should, normally when you put a chest tube, as soon as you put a tube, patient starts coughing. Why? Because the lung expands. And look at the initial drainage. $1 million point. Suppose you are doing it for a large hydrothorax or a complete pneumothorax which is there for a while. Do not suddenly drain the whole thing, because there is a term called post-thoracotomy pulmonary edema. When suddenly the lung expands, there is a acute pulmonary edema, which is a preventable situation. Welcome, Rahul. If we can anticipate beforehand when we are going to do a large drainage. So at the time of drainage, what are the precautions? We have already discussed everything. I also strongly believe that you can calculate how much tube has to go in. Before you put in a tube, you can always measure that this is the diameter of the distance of the thorax from the spine to the lateral side. You can also know the height of the chest from the diaphragm upwards. I usually measure like this, that if I have to put a tube above, so I will put my fingers and then compare it on the tube. So I will put 2 centimeters more or 3 centimeters more. I will tell you why more a shade later. Now we are coming to that. Friends, we are coming to all minor details today. If it will take time, I will cover only one thing. But I want all of you to be absolutely thorough. Your knowledge should match the knowledge of your examiner minus expertise. Once you have put a tube in, now you put a suture. There are two methods of suture. One is when this is the wound, you apply one suture here, put couple of knots and then put a suture along the tube. The suture should be tight enough that the tube doesn't move, but light enough not to occlude the tube. Some friends advocate purse string suture. Now purse string suture always lead to necrosis of the skin. The drain is anchored along the chest with a sterile gauze wrapped around with an ointment on the wound to seal, not for antibiotic purposes. To seal the wound, small gauze should be put in. And then put the small dressing. Why small dressing? This is a non-textbook thing. Because sometimes the chest wall bleeds post-operatively. Or in a hemothorax, the tube may get blocked and all the blood will trickle around the tube. So that when the dressing is small, even 20 ml of blood will become revealed. If you put lot of gauze and cotton, the whole wound will absorb 2 units of blood, because before the first tinge of blood appears on your dressing. The drain should be then anchored properly, and then another leucoplast as the junction of the tube with the drainage system and chest tube. It should also be with a dynaplast stuck. My method is simple. If this is the tube, I want my resident to pull the tube. But we also tie a bandage. We have demonstrated it many times in LGS. When you put a bandage, you pull on and pull forcefully. Also the tube should not come out. That is what is desired. A dislodged tube is a shame. The surgeon should get his head shaved if his chest tube comes out without his wish. It should neither stay against his wish nor it should come out without his wish. Now, what are the complications of putting a chest tube? Number one, you put it at a wrong place. We have seen all the complications. Let me start. We have had chest tube on the wrong side in COPD patients. It is not, I am not saying in another unit. It happened in my unit. This was an era, I must accept and share with you. This was an era when time out was not done. So in the evening rounds, I walked with my resident. It was a medicine patient. The medicine registrar put in an X-ray on the view box in the center of Ward 6. And I asked my chief resident, I said, yes. He smiled at me and he says, why are you asking? This is a simple case of pneumothorax. I still asked him, what you are going to do? He said, I will put a tube in. So we left. I went to my house. He went to the ward. When he finished everything, it was a chilly winter night. Around 10 p.m., the ward nurse called me and said, rush to the ward number 6. There is a disaster. So when I came, all medicine team was there. What had happened? Somebody he put the X-ray also. He put the X-ray in the wrong way, without right and left, looking at it. So he looked on the wrong side, which was emphysematous. This was a rupture of emphysematous bulla on one side and emphysema on the other side. Now see one small thing. The doctor, the chief resident, put the tube on the normal side, and being rash, he punctured the normal lung and injured it. So now we have bilateral pneumothorax in a patient who was already having half a dozen disease processes, diabetes, hypertension, COPD, whatever you know of medicine he had. So when I reached there, I put the tube on the desired site. We transferred the patient on our service. His lung got expanded, but the patient died. It is a shame on me. So I want to share with you that such a thing doesn't happen with you. I have seen people the tube has been pushed too much in, so it kinked. The tube had one hole outside. Now how do you know the tube has a hole outside? The chest tube has a radiopaque marker on it, and the last hole is on the marker line. So you look at the marker line, where the marker line is discontinued. So if that is outside the chest, that tells you, without opening the dressing, that the hole is outside. Welcome, Dr. Pandey. Hence, you can have a tube pushed into the lung, into the diaphragm, into the fissure. People have injured the pericardium, heart, aorta and everything. Intercostal have led to tremendous bleeding. If you are not careful to enter on the upper border of the rib, then you cannot injure the neurovascular bundle. So these are the complications of chest tube. Now, what we are going to post-operative care of a chest tube. I said already about the dressing, about the anchoring of the drainage systems. Now the water first we will talk about the management of the tube and the bottles. The bottles should be emptied preferably on rounds every morning or by the resident before rounds. It should not be left to nurses. Nurses pass away to paramedics and then to sweepers, and then the aseptic technique is breached. It breached two ways. One, while emptying the bottle. Second, while they put the saline in again. Tube preferably should not be clamped during transport to a radiology department, and more so when a patient is having bronchopleural fistula or an air leak, when patient is on CPAP, patient is on ventilation. Never ever clamp. Now, the details of the bottles, we are going to walk over the pictures. But one very important principle I want to share in the management of chest tube drainage. Primarily, you should put a tube early and come out, remove the tube early. First principle is good drainage. The tube should be nicely positioned. After putting the chest tube, a chest check X-ray is done. Number one, to see the expansion of the lung. Number two, the position of the tube. 2 months ago, we had a chest tube put in our unit or the hospital, which was outside in the chest wall in a very obese person. If the chest X-ray was not done, probably that would have been missed till next morning. Something important I want to share. When you done a drainage, pain management is a single important thing. We talked about this issue yesterday also, because if the pain management is not good, patient will not cough, he will not do incentive spirometry, so his PCI score will go up. More PCI, more pneumonias, more intubation, more ICU number of days. I hope all my friends remember PIC score. Pain, controlled, moderate, severe. Inspiration, more than expected, less than expected, not at all. C, strong cough, mild cough, cannot cough. So PIC score is important in every thoracic situation. Next, physiotherapy. Besides coughing and incentive spirometry, look at me. I want to explain to you on my own chest. Suppose I have a tube here, right? So what is the human tendency? When I move my shoulder muscles, this is painful. So I am going to keep it shoulder like this. Then what is the second tendency? Because of pain, I am also going to keep my spine also slightly like this. So these patients are prone to periarthritis of the shoulder. Disuse, atrophy of the muscle happens in older people in just 4 to 6 weeks. And there is a scoliosis towards the concavity towards the side. So the person is likely to behave like this. So what is your duty as a doctor? That you must teach all the shoulder exercises. And if the best method is, I am demonstrating, you ask the patient to do namaste like this when you reach in the ward. So there should not be any difference of the movement of both shoulder joints and circumduction and touching the opposite scapula. These exercises you must teach the patient. Every hospital cannot have a physiotherapist. Every physiotherapist cannot be motivated now. So this part is the responsibility of the surgeon who has put in a tube. Management of prevention of scoliosis. The answer is, take 2-3 pillows, ask the patient to lie on the opposite side, lying on the side with pillows in the lumbar area, so that this side opens up. So these are the things when you can prevent complications. Last thing, boss used to say, feed them like a pig. Give them high calorie, nutritional, high protein diet and treat the comorbid conditions. If he has any comorbid condition, treat it. If he is a smoker, anticipatory, start him on nicotine substitutes so that he doesn't remain upset without his nicotine quota. Hence friends, this by far finishes the chest tube. Now we will walk around on some selected images. Give me some 60 seconds to reorganize, and then we come back to tracheostomy. We are moving okay. It's just 30 minutes since we started. So give me some time, I will organize. Is it okay? Please, somebody should type if it is okay. Moni, can you type it is okay? Okay, we start. Now, this is a normal chest water bottle. The water seal here is from the tip of the tube to the tip of water column. Now I am standing on the other side. I will not be able to read the comments. I will answer them later. You just keep noting down your questions. Ask me at the end because I cannot read the slides in the reverse manner. So what is right for you is wrong for me. So the water seal acts here. This end goes to the patient. This is to the environment. So the water seal allows the fluid and the gases to come out but does not permit the atmospheric air to go in. The pressure is 1 centimeter here, but normally we like to keep 2 centimeters or more. Now this slide is to say it is the same bottle, but this I am showing to highlight that look, now the bottle is full, so the pressure has become from this tip to this 11 centimeters. So thereby, till there is a 11 centimeter pressure generated in the lung, in the pleural space, the gas cannot come out. I hope I am clear. This is the resistance for intrapleural gas to come out. So there has to be now 11 centimeters, which may not rise. So you have to keep emptying the bottle. This is the same bottle to highlight that during each inspiration and expiration, the range of movement can easily be 12 centimeters. Now it is a 3-bottle system. This comes from the patient. This is from the suction. Whenever the suction is more than the level of tip of this middle tube till the top, suppose this is 20 centimeters, the pressure will be broken by bubbling air from the environment. So the pressure effective in this space is only 20 centimeters. If there is no bubbling in this tube, that means what? That means the air leak here is of equivalent to the suction. So there is a constant air leak, there will be no bubbling in 3 bottle. And if you apply occlusion to the central tube, all that atmospheric pressure will be transferred to the patient. This is a 2-bottle system. This is the reservoir. So in the reservoir, all the suction is transmitted to the patient, and there is a free movement of gas. So the fluid gets collected here. A reservoir bottle has to be always followed by a trap bottle. This is the reservoir bottle. It is followed by a trap bottle. The point of having a reservoir bottle is you have exact measurement of fluid without mixture with saline. If you want to increase the further pressure, the second bottle, there is a second bottle added next to the reservoir, which can increase the pressure, and you can continue to add such bottles in series. We used to put 3-4 bottles after mastectomy flaps. The same thing, reservoir bottle, trap bottle, suction bottle. Slightly different arrangement where the water seal is first here, and this bottle is added so that the bubbling water does not go into the suction. This is to protect the suction. 4-bottle system which happens in, and the modern version of 4-bottle called atrium suction. All the residents of today are supposed to know everything about atrium. I will not use this time to elaborate on atrium. Please go to atriummed.com. Download the whole brochure, 40 pages. You read 40 pages 3 times. If you retain 5 pages out of that, more than required. Now the connections. The size of the connection should be of the size of the tube. This is also known as Christmas tree connection because it looks like Christmas tree. Now friends, look at the lumen. This is such a large connection to look at, but see the internal diameter, how small. Eventually this has the same diameter as the tube. Is it clear now? That the diameter within should be the same as the tube. Okay, this was an important thing I wanted to show. This is important that the patient tubing, the bottle should be kept 80 centimeters below the chest level, because at the time of coughing 20 to 60 centimeter of water pressure can be generated. So a patient who coughs can generate lot of negative pressure. If the bottle and bag is not kept below, then this fluid can go back to the chest. Now friends, this is a picture of atrium. It is a closed system. Because more bottles lead to more leak of fluid, there are more chances of crack of tube and leak from the junctions. So atrium is basically a 4 bottle system. The first 3 columns are for the fluid measurement. This is a underwater seal and this is a suction. So suction is adjustable from 20 to 40 centimeter. The water seal is 2 centimeters and the air leak can be graduated. You need to read lot about it and you need to remember everything about atrium. Now I think today we will discuss only this, because tracheostomy will take another 45-50 minutes. So we close it today here, keep the tracheostomy for tomorrow. Give me a time to readjust, then I will take all the questions. Yes, friends, please float the questions. Whatever is the query, I will answer. Remember, if I have to raise the salient features for the chest tube, you have to evaluate why are you putting it, where is the collection. The patient should be positioned comfortably, should have oxygenation, oximetry, somebody to monitor the patient, preferably a IV line going, analgesic. Mark the landmarks. Drape all the landmarks under vision. Look for any comorbid condition. If the patient is on antiplatelet therapy. Yes, Muni, the right question. If a hole is outside, remove the tube, put a new tube. As I said, you should treat closed thoracotomy or a chest tube drainage as precautions of sepsis as you do on open thoracotomy. I also said that I will calculate the distance and put 2 centimeters more because I can always withdraw. Please don't put the next question till I finish this. Please hold on with the next question because I can't see all of them. I have a small screen. So you can always withdraw the tube, but you cannot reinsert the tube. If the tube has come out, don't go by the philosophy thoda betadine laga lena and then slightly push it in. That is wrong. Change the tube, put a new tube. Then there was another question, if the tube is bubbling. Now there are two types of bubbling. One, continuous bubbling. When it is a continuous bubbling, it is number 1, bronchopleural fistula. Number 2, the hole is outside. Number 3, there is a crack in between somewhere. So you have to locate one by one by clamping the tube at all levels, and then you will be able to diagnose and do the needful. Then another important thing, you put in a tube for pneumothorax. The lung has not expanded. So what are the possibilities? Number 1, your tube is blocked. Number 2, the bronchus is blocked. Number 3, there is a thick encasement or an empyema layer which is producing entrapment of the lung. So there are only 3 things: tube blocked, bronchus blocked. Yes. Second tube is inserted, sir, when there are, number 1, there are multiple loculi. You have hit one with one. Say the main pleural cavity is hit, there is another loculi which was not drained. That is today the commonest indication. Second, a patient who is having bronchopleural fistula and a secondary empyema. So you want to put a one tube pointing above to drain the air and one below to take care of the empyema. These are the 2 indications to my mind. Yes, Muni, what you want to say? Type. We did not talk when to remove a tube. When a lung is fully expanded, clinically, radiologically, on PA view, on deep inspiration, and also take a expiration film. Expiration film is taken always to pick up a early pneumothorax. I said this 3 days ago. Now, when the lung is expanded, there is no air leak. There is minimal fluid draining. That fluid can be even 100 ml. If it is a serious 100 ml, it does not matter in an adult. So then you remove the tube at the end of expiration and when patient is doing Valsalva. Some people now will try to tighten the hole by the purse string tying. All these lead to very ugly wound. We have in our technique gone a rib below, an intercostal space below, and enter the lung like this. So it is not a straight hole like this. So the muscle layers themselves close the pleural and skin hole. And do a check X-ray even if the patient is asymptomatic after 24 hours. If symptomatic, at any time, and even if it shows 10-15% pneumothorax, do not worry about it. Put him on exercises, this will get absorbed. Dr. Krishna Dubey, I said even 100 ml of serous fluid, you don't need to care. As long as the patient is asymptomatic, lung is expanded, and there's no air leak. This will get absorbed. 5% of them may require aspiration at a later time. Yes. Professor Maheshwari, out of your experience, you want to share something? Or the iatrogenic lung injury, you have to manage on lines of lung injury. If it is a small laceration, it will stop bleeding because the lung has got low perfusion, low pressure circulation, lot of tissue thromboplastin, it will clot off. If you made a big hole into a hilar vessel, you need to open up the patient. Now one thing very important, suppose in a empyema, the hole in the chest wall has become bigger and there is a leakage around it. So there are two things. Either you remove this tube, put a new tube, or do a glove dressing. Glove dressing is take a glove, cut the thumb, take the hole out of this and then stick the glove all around it. So that is called glove dressing, or change the tube. I have seen tube in the liver, spleen, hydronephrotic kidney, diaphragm quite often, lung quite often, too much of tube put in, and all sort of complications given in the book and not given in the book. As I have accepted, I have seen a wrong side chest tube done in my own unit, and where I was also responsible because I was not there. I must share with you very important concept of what is a consultant. This has nothing to do with chest tube. On this case, when the chief resident put a tube on the wrong side, there is nothing scientific called intermittent clamping. It doesn't come in any textbook, and my today's lecture is from Shields textbook. This is the ultimate book. Even this doesn't mention about, there is no intermittent clamping. There should be no clamping. When the patient has got well, the tube should come out. So the interesting fact which I was telling you, when the management called me up, so it was a director of CMC, medical superintendent, my head of department and the medicine head of department. They said, those days the term used was consultation. They said, we had sent the head of medicine, just hold on this, let me finish this. Yes sir, I am coming to that. Let me tell a very interesting story. So hold on here before any comment comes. So all the bombarding was done on me. Everybody said the professor of medicine asked for a surgical consultation. The word consultation means he is asking a consultant to help. So I argued that this gentleman is doing all laparotomies at night. He is doing so much of surgery. So if he has erred, it is not my fault. The ultimate decision of the jury was, and I had to apologize, the director and head of surgery and head of medicine and medical superintendent concluded that on your own service you may let him do any surgery. That is your headache. But if you are asked for a consultation, howsoever small the procedure may be, the consultant should have done it. So I had to apologize and get away from the scene. The moral of the story is, when you are on consultation on other services, be more careful than otherwise. So answer to Dr. Maheshwari is that the patient should not be on lateral, because if there is fluid, it will go away. If it is air, it will also be leveled out on a large area. So ideally the patient should be upright, and Slight tilt so that you can drape till far off and have landmarks. If there is anything else, please share. I will answer all the questions whatever are pending on our follow-up. So the chest tube only took an hour, so we will discuss tracheostomy in detail tomorrow. Please revise your anatomy before our session starts. Thank you very much for being here late evening, and wish you all the best for your lockdown. Stay safe, wash hands, take care of yourself and your family. Okay, good night.